we are going to have the reading of the law. And after that, we'll dive right in. We're going to Exodus chapter 20, Ecclesiastes 12, and Revelations chapter 22. We're going to start at Exodus 20 and verse 1. 20 and 1. Go ahead and read it, brother.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and read those last two verses. Go ahead and read them.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to our last place, Revelations 22. We're going to read verses 14 and 15.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
Thank you, brother. That is the reading of the law. And for those that have people tell them your works don't count and you don't have to do any, we just read proof to you from the old and the new that it definitely counts and it's definitely being looked at, okay? So now I want to start by saying to everyone here today and that's watching us online, good morning and welcome home. Yes, welcome home here to the Israel of God Bible study class, Pittsburgh, California, where we teach the Bible by subject and title. Reading for us today is Brother Michael. My name is Brother James, okay? And look, brothers and sisters, for those of us that have been in positions of management and supervisors, or you've owned a business, or you've been captain of a team, we tend to look for people that's like us. Do we not? We look for people like us, okay? And that have the same mindset that we have. And I'm telling y'all right now that God is the same way. He's looking for people with the mindset that he has. That's who he's looking for, okay? So in today's lesson, which is titled Longsuffering, a godly trait. Longsuffering, a godly trait, okay? We will see that this godly trait requires power from deep down in your belly, okay? Long-suffering, okay? It requires us to be meek, showing others that they are important, okay? And it requires us to remove ourselves from the equation and our feelings sometimes, because long suffering is not about you. It's about other people.
Right.
Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
That's what it's about. So we are going to start today's lesson in the 57th chapter of Isaiah. Okay? Isaiah 57 is where we're going to start today's lesson, because we're going to find out by the time we leave out of here that if you get this one fruit of the Spirit, long suffering, if you get this one, it makes all the rest of them easier. If you can get this one right here, this godly trait, okay, it requires you to show something. Isaiah 57, my brother, pick it up at verse 15. 57 and 15. Go ahead and read it.
For thus saith the high and lofty one,
Yes.
that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit.
See, this Godhead, the Father and the Son, said they both have a humble and a contrite spirit. Go ahead and read.
To revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones.
So does it revive the hearts of the evil ones? No. The contrite and humble ones, okay, is showing us right here, right out of the gate, that he's looking for people who have the same mindset that he has, okay? So now let's go to the 34th Psalm. 34th Psalm, and let's pick it up at verse 14. Psalm 34 and 14. Long suffering is what we're going to talk about today. 34 and 14. 34 and 14. Psalm 34 and 14. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Depart from evil and do good.
Hold on, brother. Your mic is out. Mike, you want to put that?
Testing.
Go ahead, brother.
Depart from evil and do good.
Yes.
Seek peace and pursue it.
Yes.
The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry.
So now we see in verse 14, it said to seek peace and pursue peace. That means run it down, chase it. That's what pursuing peace is. You have to run it down and get after it like you get after everything else in this world that you really want.
That's true.
You get after that degree. You get after that job and that money. You get after that brother and you get after that sister. How about running peace down? Like you gotta have it. Chase it. Okay? Go ahead and read, brother.
The face of the Lord is against them that do evil.
Yes, sir.
To cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles.
See, it says the righteous will cry out to the Lord and he will hear them and deliver them out of some of their troubles, brother.
All of them.
So he'll deliver you out of all of them. Go ahead.
The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart.
Yes, sir.
And saveth such as be of a contrite spirit.
Oh, so he will save the ones with the spirit like his, because the both of them have a contrite spirit. So those are the ones he's looking for. Go ahead, brother.
Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all.
Yes, sir. So now let's stay in the Psalm and go to the 86th chapter. It says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord deliver you out of every single one of them. Yeah, trouble's going to come your way, but the Lord will deliver you out of them if you have his mindset, if you have the fruits of the Spirit. 86 Psalm, my brother. We just want one verse right there. 86 and 15. We already picked up that humble spirit and that contrite spirit. Let's see what else is there. Go ahead, brother.
But thou, O Lord,
art
a God full of compassion,
yes,
and gracious, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth.
So we see those characteristics of God. We should try to have those. Be gracious and compassionate towards your brothers and sisters. Be long-suffering and plenteous in mercy and plenteous in truth. Let's see if we can do that. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3, my brother. Colossians 3. So we see this is a characteristic of the Most High God. Colossians 3 And let's pick it up at verse 12. 3 and 12, my brother. 3 and verse 12. Go ahead and read it.
Put on, therefore, as the elect of God,
Mhm.
holy and beloved, bowels of mercies,
Mhm.
kindness.
So look, Paul is telling us, as the elect of God, he say, put on bowels of mercy, put on some kindness. What else, brother?
Humbleness of mind,
Yes, sir.
meekness,
Mhm.
long suffering.
These are the things that we should put on, like you put a shirt on. Put that on.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Forbearing one another,
Yes.
and forgiving one another.
Mhm.
If any man have a quarrel against any, even if Christ forgave you, so also do ye.
So the Lord is charging us with forgiving one another too. Okay, let's go read that definition, my brother, of long suffering. What that say right there? Go ahead and read it.
In the Bible, long suffering is a virtue that means to be patient and tolerant, and to forbear repetitious wrongs.
Wait a minute. To forbear repetitious wrongs against you, brother?
Yes, sir.
And what else?
Accusations.
Do y'all see that? You have to forbear repetitious wrongs against you, repetitious accusations, and what else? Offenses
or trouble.
and troubles.
It's a fruit of the Holy Spirit that Christians are called to exhibit.
And just like Paul just called, and we know what the definition of a Christian is. Okay?
Right.
A Christian is a person that have a holy convocation on the Sabbath day. Christian is a person that observes the dietary laws. A Christian is a person that observes and keeps the feast days. Okay?
Yes, sir.
A Christian is a person that follow the examples that Christ left us, and then they do what he say.
Facts.
That's what a Christian is. If you outside of that, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not a Christian. What else does it say, brother?
In the Old Testament, long suffering is a quality of God and is revealed as part of his innate character.
And we already have read that it's a part of his character. Long suffering is. And we're going to read it today. Go ahead, brother.
In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul lists long suffering as a fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5, verse 22.
Yes, sir.
He also encourages Christians to be long suffering in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2.
Yes, sir. So now let's go to Romans 5, okay? And let's look at something, because if we don't believe or understand that the Lord God is long suffering, let's go look at something. Romans chapter 5. Let's read this book, okay? Romans 5, and let's pick it up at the 8th verse. Romans 5 and verse 8. 5 and 8. Go ahead and read it.
But God commendeth his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
So it says, while we were sinning against him, he still died for us. Go ahead and read.
Much more than, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath through him.
Go ahead.
For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life.
So we see we were referred to as his enemies. We were his enemies. How so? Because we were sinning. Mankind been sinning from the beginning. Okay. And the book called us his enemies. But he still came and died for us to open the door for us to get that salvation. Okay.
Praise God.
He opened the door while we were enemies and while we were sinning. So no one of us in this room did anything worthy of him coming and dying and suffering for us. None of us did anything. He did that because he's long suffering with us. And he keeps trying to give us ways to get out of our own way. Okay? So now, let's go to Hebrews chapter 3. Hebrews 3. You don't know long suffering like the Lord knows it, okay? We don't have a clue of what it is like he knows what it is. We can definitely try to break out that characteristic from within ourselves, and we can practice. Sometimes we can even acknowledge that a situation happened to us or a person got dropped in our lives, and we'll say, you know what? That's to help me out in my long suffering department.
Right.
And I've said that. This person is strictly here to help me practice long suffering, okay? This situation is here for me to practice long suffering. Even though I know I'm going to come up to you and I'm going to say, how you doing, brother? Good
Doing
to
all
see
right.
you.
Likewise,
And I know
brother.
as soon as I turn around, he's sticking his hand in his back pocket to pull that knife up. But I got to still handle him like that. And we're going to read today, the Lord say 70 times 7, you have to forgive. That's 490. You can't even count 400 and some offenses somebody brought against you. You'll get tired of counting. You will get tired of counting. So in other words, forgive them, forgive her over and over again. Over and over again. Because the definition said repetitious accusations, offenses. That's what God's been doing, but let's read it. Let's prove it. Hebrews 3:7. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Wherefore, as the Holy Ghost saith, today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation, in the day of temptation in the wilderness.
Yes, sir.
When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years.
How long?
40 years.
How many of us grieve with somebody for 40 years? We won't even do 40 minutes before we cut them off. Definitely won't do 40 days. You cutting them off. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore I was grieved with that generation and said, they do always err in their heart.
Yes, sir.
And they have not known my ways.
The Lord say they do always err in their hearts and they have not known my ways. 40 years he was grieved with them. Let's go back to the 95th Psalm, my brother. The 95th Psalm. He said he was grieved with those people out there in the wilderness. 40 years. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
That's a long time. Some of us haven't even been living 40 years in this room. When you talking about being grieved with somebody for 40 years, nah, that's hard to do. But it's a godly trait, and we should practice it. Okay? 95th Psalm. Psalm 95, my brother, pick it up at verse 8. 95:8. Go ahead and read.
Harden not your heart, as in the provocation, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work.
Yes.
40 years long was I grieved with this generation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart.
Yes.
And they have not known my ways.
And that's the same thing that we just read in Hebrews. These people didn't know the Lord. They didn't understand his ways, and he grieved with them for 40 years. Let's go into the 18th chapter of Matthew, because let's read something that I just said out of my mouth. We have to read it now. Matthew 18, and let's pick it up at verse 21. Because Jesus is going to get asked this question. Matthew 18 and chapter 21. You have to forgive your sister and your brother several times. It's just part of the package. It comes with the package, okay? Matthew 18, verse 21, Brother Michael, 21. Go ahead and read it.
Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
So how about that? Do we see that? 70 times 7. That's 490 if you're counting. Who's going to count that? If they went above 490, you lost count, so you would think it's 300 and something. So guess what that means? You still got to forgive.
Yes, sir.
You still have to do it, even if he went over that. So let's go to Galatians 5, because we read earlier that Paul listed it as a fruit of the Spirit. And when you look at these fruits of the Spirit, if you get this long suffering, the other ones are easy, okay? Especially when you start looking at the opposite words to these fruits of the Spirit. When you start looking at the opposite words, if you operating in them these opposing words of the fruits of the Spirit, you in trouble, okay? Galatians 5:22, what it say, brother?
But the fruit of the Spirit is love.
The fruit of the Spirit is love. That's one of them. The opposite of that is hate. Go ahead and read.
joy,
Joy, not madness. Go ahead.
peace,
Not sowing discord. Go ahead.
long suffering,
And not cutting people off because they did something or said something or thought about something that you didn't agree with. You
Right.
cannot cut them off. Go ahead, brother.
gentleness,
Gentleness, not hostility. Go ahead.
goodness, faith.
Yes, sir. That means you cannot go around committing offenses. Go ahead, brother.
Meekness,
Meekness is a fruit of the spirit. Meekness is you are more important than me, brother. What do you need? How can I help you? Okay. Meekness, not degrading anybody. What verse is that, brother?
That's 23.
Go ahead.
Temperance,
Temperance is patience, okay? So if you don't have patience, that's not a godly thing. Go ahead, brother.
against such there is no law.
Go ahead.
And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts.
Go ahead.
If we live in the spirit, let us also walk in the spirit.
If we live in the spirit, let us walk in the spirit. Go ahead.
Let us not be desirous of vainglory,
Mhm.
provoking one another, envying one another.
That is true. So now let's go to Genesis chapter 5, because we got a period longer than them 40 years that the Lord was grieved with Israel out there. It's a period that he did some grieving way longer, okay? Let's go Genesis 5 and pick it up at verse 5. Genesis chapter 5, verse 5. Again, today's title is long suffering, a godly trait, a trait he wants us to have. He wants us to have this trait because he's looking for people like himself. Okay? 5 and 5, brother. Go ahead and read it.
And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years.
Yes, sir.
And he died.
Mm-hmm.
And Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos.
Yes.
And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years and begat sons and daughters.
So people always come when you introduce the Bible to them. They say, well, then I don't believe that Bible. Why not? Because if Adam and Eve only had Cain and Abel, then how we get here? Go to Genesis 5, start at verse 1 and just read a few verses.
Right.
You will see. Okay? But go ahead and read, brother.
And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died.
So now we see that man was living just short of 1,000 years. Just short of 1,000 years. But man was so wicked, the Lord had to do something about him to keep from killing every last one of them. Okay? Let's go into the next chapter, brother, and pick it up at verse 3. Genesis 6 and 3. Man was living up in the 900s. If you go to Genesis 5 and just read all the way through it, you'll see all of these people lived to be 900 some odd years in those days, okay? But let's go hit Genesis 6 and pick it up at verse 3. 6 and 3, my brother. Go ahead and read that.
And the Lord said,
Go ahead.
my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh.
Yes.
Yet his days shall be 120 years.
Y'all see that? So God cut man's years down from up in the 800s and 900s down to 120 years just to keep from going upside your head. You want to talk about long suffering, okay? Skip down to verse 5, brother, continue.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Continually, only evil, continually was man's every thought. Go ahead, brother.
And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart.
So it said it repented the Lord. He was actually regretful that he created this man, because we are so wicked. We are so on doing what we want to do instead of doing the things that he put us in this place to do. Okay? We want to do whatever we want to do. Go ahead and read, brother. Was that the end of 6?
That's the end of 6. Yes.
Okay, so now let's go into the 90th Psalm, Psalm chapter 90. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if you built a remote control car and then you arrange it and set it up and you got your remote control, then you pick it up and you tell it to go forward and it go backwards. Then you tell it to turn left, it go right. Then you tell it to go straight ahead, it starts spinning in circles. What you gonna say about that car? It's broken. Huh? It's worthless to you, really. Because what you going to do with it if it's doing whatever it wants to do, which is what man has been doing since day number one. Since day one, we've been doing it. And the Lord been grieving with us and giving us ways to get out of his way and to get out of trouble. And we see it and we still walk on by that. Okay? The 90th Psalm, brother, pick it up at verse 8. 90 and 8. Go ahead and read it.
Thou hast set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance.
Hey, you don't have no secret sins with God. You think they secret. Go ahead and read, brother.
For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told.
Yes.
The days of our years are 80 years and 10.
Y'all see that now? He done cut them from 120 to 70. Now you done went still trying to help you get out your own way. Go ahead.
And if by reason of strength, they be 80 years.
And then some people are blessed so they get somebody else's years and they might live 80. Yeah. Some of them live 90, some will get up to 100 and some change. But it's a lot of people, and I know a lot of people went to school with a lot of people that didn't even see 25.
Right.
And we all know some people who didn't see 30, didn't see 40. Okay? But the Lord cut our years from up in the 900s to a $120. Then he cut them to 70. Okay? So now we see how long suffering he is. He keeps looking for ways to help us get out of our own way. Let's go to the 103rd Psalm and pick it up at verse 8. Psalm 103, the 103rd chapter. So those 40 years is nothing when you look at 6,000 years so far almost we've been on this planet in this creation. 6,000 years he's been grieved with a people.
Yeah.
He's been grieved with this man who wants to eat sharks and bears and rats and dogs. Grieved with this man that got all these fake holidays that are attributed to Satan himself, and they swear up and down it's to Jesus. Huh? You want to eat what you want. You want to do what you want. You want to not observe his feast days and look for reasons to not do what he told us to do. And it's written in the book. Whew, man. I got a phone call the other day and somebody wanted to question me about something that we do and teach. And I said, well, here are the verses where it's written. And that's why I said that it's written in the book. Can you show me what you're saying is written in the book? No, I can't. So what are we talking about?
Click.
That's your best man's rebellious nature. Just got to be a rebel, man. If the book says left, I'm going with the left side. Well, I think it's right. Why? Because Pastor Joe said it's right. Well, can you read it to me then? If you can't read it, why are we talking about that? Man is just rebellious in nature. And the book tells you your brain is wicked, okay? So look, let's go. 103rd Psalm, verse 8. What does it say, brother?
The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger,
yes,
and plenteous in mercy.
And he wants us to be like that, period. There are levels to it, and you have to consciously work on it. Because the easy thing to do is to get mad and retaliate. It's easy to do that. Anybody can do that.
Right.
But can you be gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy? Everybody in this room, we have to get better in this department. Go ahead, brother.
He will not always chide, neither will he keep his anger forever.
Right, go ahead.
He hath not dealt with us after our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquities.
Do y'all see that? The Lord has not dealt with us according to our sins. Y'all know he hasn't done that, right?
Right.
He has not dealt with us according to the dirt that we have done. If he would have, we'd all be ashes right now. Huh? All of us would be ashes. He has not dealt with us. That's showing you his long suffering right there.
Yeah.
Right here. Go ahead, brother.
For as the heaven is high above the earth,
Yeah.
so great is his mercy toward them that fear him.
And then he even got that extra mercy for those that fear him, because the ones that fear God, they do what he says. The ones that don't fear him, they do what they want. Go ahead and read.
As far as the east is from the west,
Mm-hmm.
so far hath he removed our transgression from us.
Go ahead.
Like as a father pitieth his children,
Mm-hmm.
so the Lord pitieth them that fear him.
He keeps saying the ones that fear him, he have pity on. Because when you fear God, you walk out your house, you look at your spouse, and you look at your child, you look at your dog and your cat, you hit the light switch, the lights come on, you go to the fridge, you got enough stuff in there to make a salad or a sandwich or to cook something from your pantry. When you walk outside, you should be thinking, I don't want nothing I just saw to change. When I come home, I still want my children here in good health. I still want my spouse here treating me how I need to be treated. I still need them lights to come on when I hit that switch. Okay? So when you walk out the house, you should have the understanding and the fear that if you cut to the left or to the right against God, he can change all them circumstances. Like that. He can change them. So it's on you. And sometimes we look and we say, well, I did this dirt and did that dirt and then nothing happened. I might as well keep on doing them. Okay, keep on doing them. Sooner or later, you're going to get that knock at the door. And it's going to be one of them unclean spirits ready to turn your life upside down. Okay? Because you lack fear of God. So his memory is not short. We can read that. Right when it's the most inconvenient time for him to flip on you, that's when the flip coming. Because everything else going bad. Now here he comes with a tidal wave of trouble for you. Okay? If you want to risk it, knock yourself out. I've had my share of being slapped down by the Most High God.
That part.
I've had my share of it. I'm tired of it. I've had enough. And I don't need any more trouble in my life. I don't need holes in my money bag. I don't need any of that. Okay? I need to put my key in the door when I get home and have peace back there behind that door. Okay? If I want to go to my fridge and pour me a glass of wine, I'm going to go do that. If I want to fix a turkey sandwich, I'm fixing that sandwich. Okay? I might have about $8 or $9 in my pocket, and I got fuel in my car. I'm good. Were we done with that 103rd
Yes, we
Psalm,
were.
brother?
Yes, sir.
But we keep talking about fear of the Lord. That's what you got to have. That's a necessary ingredient, okay? Let's go back to Matthew chapter 18. Fear is a necessary ingredient. You can either choose to fear him on your own, which is the easy way, or you can get it the hard way. He can make you fear him the hard way. Y'all know that, right? He can make you fear him the hard way. Turn things upside down. But today's lesson is really about long suffering.
Yes, sir.
How you deal with your sisters and with your brothers. Matthew 18, chapter 18, verse 22. 18 and 22. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
So we read that already, but keep going.
Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants.
Yes, sir.
And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents.
So this man had one person come to him that owed him 10,000 talents. Go ahead and read.
But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made.
So his Lord said, okay, so since the man don't have these 10,000 to pay me, we gonna sell him and his wife and his children so I can get paid back what is owed to me. Okay, go ahead and read.
The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all.
He said, have what?
Patience.
That's one of the fruits of the Spirit, right? He said, have patience with me, and then I'm going to pay you. Just give me some time. Go ahead and read.
Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion.
He was moved with what?
Compassion.
We got to have compassion for our brothers and our sisters. He was moved with compassion, and what did he do, brother?
And loosed him and forgave him the debt.
So he just said, man, forget about it. You don't owe me that. Go ahead and read.
But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants.
So now this man that just got forgiven of 10,000 talents, the debt just got wiped out. It was like a free, no punishment bankruptcy, if you will.
Need that.
Hey, it just got wiped out. 10,000 talents. Go ahead and read.
And he but the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat,
he
saying,
was choking the brother.
He choked that brother, man.
Over 100 pence. And he just got freed up of 10,000 talents.
The nerve, man.
100 pence. Now he choking the brother. Go ahead and read.
And took him by the throat, saying, pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all.
Look, his servant, his fellow servant said to him the same thing he said to the Lord. Have patience with me. Give me a little more time, and then I can pay you back. Go ahead and read.
And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt.
So he cast a man in prison because of that 100 pence. Go ahead and read.
So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry and came and told unto their Lord all that was done.
So they went to the Lord and said, hey, man, the dude that you just wiped out his 10,000 talent debt, he just had a cat locked up over 100 pence. Go ahead and read.
Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant.
What kind of servant?
Wicked.
Go ahead.
I forgave thee all that debt because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even if I had pity on thee?
He said, you should have had compassion on that brother like I had compassion on you. Go ahead, brother.
And his Lord was wroth and delivered him to the tormentors till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you.
Go ahead.
If you from your hearts forgive not everyone his brother their trespasses.
So he said the Father gonna do the same thing to you if you can't forgive nobody. If you can't have a long-suffering mindset, you're gonna get that same punishment, brothers and sisters. Okay. So now let's go into Ephesians 4 and pick it up at that first verse. Ephesians 4:1. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 1, my brother. Long suffering is what we're talking about today. Long suffering. 4:1. Go ahead and read it.
I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called.
So Paul called himself a prisoner of the Lord, which we all should call ourselves that. Why? Because we should understand that there are boundaries that we have to operate inside of, and we can't go outside of them. Okay, go ahead and read.
With all lowliness and meekness.
With all lowliness and meekness. Go ahead.
With long suffering.
With long suffering. Now, go ahead.
Forbearing one another in love.
How? In love.
In love, yes.
Forbear one another in love, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Wait a minute. That word endeavoring, it says endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. That means trying hard, trying real hard to keep peace between you and your brother and you and your sister. Not try a little bit. Read that verse again, brother.
Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Trying real hard to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Skip down to verse 31 and continue, brother.
Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor.
Wait a minute. Y'all write this down in your notes. If you taking notes, put a star right there by this, right?
You know what?
Put a star. Hit that verse 31 again, brother. What did it say?
Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you.
Be put where?
Away.
We said all bitterness and wrath and anger, clamor, and evil speaking. Put that away from you. Go ahead, brother.
with all malice.
And that. Go ahead.
And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you.
And again, we see the same thing we read that Jesus said in Matthew 18. It says, and be kind one to another, be tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as for Christ's sake has forgiven you and me. Okay? These are characteristics that we have to work on and get better at. Otherwise, you spinning your wheels in the mud and you wasting your time. Okay? Let's go Galatians 6 and pick it up at that first verse. If you're saying you trying to make that first resurrection and be God alongside of God, how is it that you're going to be God alongside of God and you can't long suffer? Huh? How? Yeah, brother, I'm just trying to make that first resurrection. Really? You just talking, man. You just bumping gums, okay? Galatians 6:1. And look, and Paul said this back here. He said, put all that stuff away. And we all have to intentionally try to be kinder and more loving and more long-suffering and patient with our brothers and sisters. We have to intentionally do that. Not stumble up on it, intentionally. 6:1. Go ahead and read it.
Brethren,
yes.
If a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness.
Yes.
Considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted.
Ooh, that's a good verse. Read it one more time, brother.
Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness.
In the spirit of meekness, restore your sister and your brother if they get caught up in a fault. Go ahead, brother.
Considering thyself.
Consider yourself, because what if you get caught up in a fault? How would you want folks to handle you? How would you want them to come to you? Do you want them to come and beat you up and beat you down? Or do you want them to come to you in the spirit of meekness? How do you want them to come? Consider yourself. Go ahead and finish the verse, brother.
Lest thou also be tempted.
Unless you get yourself caught up, okay? And then somebody will come to you unlike you went to them, okay? So now, let's go to Romans chapter 12. Romans 12, my brother. Romans chapter 12. Long suffering is what we're talking about. That godly trait. That if you get that one right, the rest of them pretty easy. Because you have gotten to the point to where you can remove yourself out of the situation. And I know some people, been real close friends, people that every situation, they just got to keep themselves in the equation. Take yourself out the equation. Ain't nobody even thinking about you. Huh? They always putting themselves in the equation. Like folks got a committee, they out there talking about you. Man, these people fishing and fixing their own schools, huh? Nobody thinking about you. Take yourself out the equation.
Right.
Romans 12:9. Go ahead and read.
Let love be without dissimulation.
Let love be without dissimulation. Go ahead.
Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good.
We should hate things that are evil. We should be trying to cleave to things which are good things. Go ahead, brother.
Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love.
Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love. Go ahead.
In honor, preferring one another.
Yes.
Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord.
Go ahead. What verse was that?
That was 11. I think we finished.
That's all we wanted.
Yes, sir.
But I wanted this piece right here. He said, be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love. Brotherly love. So I want to go show this example here. We're going to flip it around and go Acts 9, and then we're going to come back to that other stuff. Let's go Acts chapter 9, brother, because I want to show this example real quick because it popped out when we just read that. Let's go to Acts 9, and we'll come on back to that Lamentations, okay? We'll come back to that. Let's go Acts chapter 9, because I want to point out something that happened to the Apostle Paul, because Paul did a lot of things to bring trouble on the church. He did a whole lot of things to bring trouble on this church. Okay? Let me see. Okay, let's pick it up at verse 10. Acts 9 and verse 10. 9 and 10. Go ahead and read that.
And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias.
Mm-hmm.
And to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord.
So this is after the Lord knocked Paul down, struck him with that blindness, and then the Lord called his brother Ananias. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth.
So now he told Ananias, go over into the city. There's a street called Straight. Go over there, go to Judas' house. There's a guy in there named Saul from Tarsus. He's in there praying. Go on in there to that brother. Go ahead and read.
And have seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hands on him that he might receive his sight.
He said, Paul have already seen the vision of Ananias coming in and touching him so he could get his sight back, right?
Yep.
Go ahead and read.
Then Ananias answered.
Now watch how Ananias answered to the Lord. What did he say, brother?
Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem.
Hey, look, he said, hey, Lord, listen, I've heard about all this evil this man been doing. So he's heard the rumors. He's heard those rumors now, right? And y'all know how we are about rumors. We'll let somebody tell us how somebody is, and then we'll just ride with that. Oh, you know, this sister like that. And they like, for real? She like that? Yeah, she like that. So. And then when we see the sister and meet her for the first time, we already got in our head that she like that. So now we acting funny with the sister. Huh? Y'all know we do that. We let people tell us about people. And then we treat them according to what that rumor said. Do we not do that? We've been guilty of it. All of us have. Sisters and brothers, right? So Ananias is telling the Lord, like, look, we've heard about this brother and the wickedness and the evil that he's been doing to people who seeking you, Lord. Go ahead and read.
And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name.
He's got authority to lock them up. So Ananias don't want to go deal with Paul, but let's see what happened. Go ahead and read.
But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me.
So the Lord said, go on in there and deal with that brother. Yeah, he did all that stuff, but he's a chosen vessel unto me. Go ahead and read.
To bear my name before the Gentiles and kings, and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer.
But the Lord say, on the other side, though, he's going to take his medicine now. Huh? The Lord say, Paul going to take his medicine. Go ahead.
For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him said,
hold on. So Ananias went on in there. I want y'all to pay attention to how he addressed Paul. Start the verse over, brother.
And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him said, Brother Saul.
He said what?
Brother Saul.
He called him brother. He said, Brother Saul. And y'all can't find nowhere else in this book that Brother Saul was said until Paul repeated this incident later on. He said, Brother Saul. And what else, brother?
The Lord, even Jesus that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost.
And Paul had already seen the vision of the man doing that. So, of course, he was cool with it. Go ahead and read.
And immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales, and he received his sight forthwith, and arose and was baptized.
Go ahead.
And when he had received meat, he was strengthened. Then was Saul certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus. And straightway he preached Christ in the synagogues,
yes, sir,
that he is the Son of God.
So now instead of Paul persecuting the people preaching Christ, now he's out there preaching Christ. But let's go into the 22nd chapter of Acts chapter 22. And then Paul is going to recount this incident. And let's see how he remembered it, okay? Acts chapter 22, let's pick it up at verse 6. Because we just read in Romans 12 about we ought to be kind one to another, showing brotherly love, okay? So now, Acts chapter 22, pick it up at verse 6, brother. 22 and 6, go ahead and read it.
And it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me.
So Paul is recounting the story. Go ahead.
And I fell unto the ground and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest.
He said, I'm Jesus of Nazareth, who you persecute. Okay, skip down, my brother. Hit that verse 11 and continue.
And when I could not see for the glory of that light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus.
Yes.
And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there,
Go ahead.
came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul.
He said, what?
Brother Saul.
Do y'all see that? Paul recounted it just like it happened then. He said, a man came in and called me Brother Saul, showing brotherly love and kindness to the brother, and even some long suffering in that, because he has heard about what this man has been doing. But the Lord say, this is a chosen vessel. You're going to go in there and do what I'm telling you to do, okay? And you're going to treat him like he's your brother. And it sounds like he did just that. What verse was that, brother?
We're in the middle of 13.
Go ahead.
Receive thy sight. In the same hour I looked up upon him.
Go ahead.
And he said, the God of our fathers has chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth.
Go ahead.
For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard.
Yes.
And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord.
Calling on the Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
Calling on the name of the Lord.
Calling on the name of the Lord. That's how Paul got baptized. And that's how we do it. Calling on the name of the Lord. But that's another lesson, though. But anyway, let's press on. Let's go back in time. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 2. Because we saw right then how Ananias, despite what he heard about Paul, he went ahead and did what the Lord told him to do and suffer that brother to get the opportunity to do what's right, okay? Lamentations chapter 2, let's pick it up at verse 10. Lamentations 2 and 10. Now, this is Jeremiah writing this here after the destruction of Jerusalem. Jeremiah wrote this. Lamentations 2 and 10. Go ahead and read it.
The elders of the daughter of Zion sit upon the ground and keep silence.
Yes.
They have cast up dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Mine eyes do fill with tears.
Y'all see that? Jeremiah saying, looking at what he saw happen to Jerusalem, his eyes have tears coming from him for his brothers and sisters. Go ahead and read.
My bowels are troubled.
Yes.
My liver is poured upon the earth for the destruction of the daughter of my people.
Yes.
Because the children and the sucklings swoon in the streets of the city.
Go ahead, brother.
They say to their mothers, where is corn and wine? When they swooned, as they wounded in the streets of the city, when their soul was poured out into their mother's bosom.
Look, if you had wounded people all over the streets, so to see a lot of dead people too. Go ahead and read.
What things shall I take to witness for thee? What things shall I liken to thee, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to thee, that I may comfort thee?
See, he's looking for ways he can comfort these people. And I'm going there for a reason. We're going to see. So he's looking, he's crying, and he's looking for a way to bring comfort to these people. Go ahead, brother.
O virgin daughter of Zion, for thy breach is great like the sea. Who can heal thee?
So now, let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 20, because all over this book of Jeremiah, he was trying to warn Jerusalem, turn back to your God, or else Nebuchadnezzar is coming with his army to destroy this city and burn down even the palaces, okay? He's going to burn down the palace and the houses. And every time Jeremiah would go to these people, they locked him up. They sought to kill him. They did all kind of evil things to this brother. But even when that destruction came, y'all saw the brother was hurting for his people, the same people that treated him wrong. Y'all see that? The same people now. Watch this. Jeremiah 20, verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
O Lord,
Mhm.
thou hast deceived me,
Yes.
and I was deceived. Thou art
Jeremiah 20.
20.
Hold on. Yeah, Jeremiah 20. Let me make sure. Verse 1, 20 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
Now Pashur, the son of Immer, the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things.
And Jeremiah was warning them, if y'all keep doing this and don't turn back, trouble is coming on this city. Go ahead, brother.
Then Pashur smote Jeremiah
He
the
did
prophet.
what to him?
He smote him
He slapped the man down. Go ahead.
and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord.
Y'all know what stocks are? Everybody know what the stocks are, right? Where they put your head in the thing and you bent over and your wrist is in one and like this. And it's down on you and you got to stay right there. So they put him in that thing, right? Now skip down to verse 7 and continue.
O Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived.
Yes.
Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed.
Yes.
I am in derision daily. Everyone mocketh me.
Who mocking him?
Everybody.
He's saying everybody is mocking him while he's out there locked up like that. Everybody now. Go ahead and read.
For since I spake, I cried out. I cried violence and spoil.
Yes.
Because the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me.
He said the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto him. Go ahead.
And a derision daily.
Go ahead.
Then I said, I will not make mention of him.
Yes.
Nor speak any more in his name.
Mm-hmm.
But his word was in mine heart.
Yes.
As a burning fire shut up in my bones.
Yes, sir.
And I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay.
Go ahead.
For I heard the defaming of many.
He said he heard the defaming of many. Many people were saying some crazy stuff about this brother. Go ahead and read.
Fear on every side.
Yes.
Report, say they, and we will report it.
Mm-hmm.
All my familiars watch for my halting, saying.
You see that? He say everybody was watching for him to fall and fail. And what did they say?
Peradventure, he will be enticed.
Yes.
And we shall prevail against him.
Yes.
And we shall take our revenge on him.
So look, all this time, all of Jerusalem was against this brother. But when the Lord brought that destruction on the city, the brother had compassion for the same people who was out to get him and kill him. Do we understand what we're reading here? You want to talk about some long-suffering? They locked this brother up, put him down in what was probably sewer. Locked that brother up down in there. And now, nobody came to his rescue. But when their destruction came, the brother he said he was crying. He was looking for a way to comfort these same people. Okay? That's what the Lord wants us to do and have compassion on people. Not look for that revenge or I'm going to get you back for what you did to me. No. We have to give each other space and room to grow and adjust and to get right with the Lord.
Teach.
Because we are not God, okay? We are flesh, dirt, and water. Let's go to the 53rd Psalm. Psalm chapter 53. 53rd Psalm. The 53rd Psalm, my brother. We just want one verse. And we started this lesson off showing how the Lord is humble and a contrite spirit. And he's looking for those that'll be like him. And he's looking for those that'll do some long suffering too. Because how can you be God if you lack godly characteristics? Psalm 53, verse 2, brother, what does it say?
God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did see God.
So look, we see right here, that's where he's looking now. He's looking among us. He's looking and he's listening. And he's trying to find out who's trying to be like him. Let's go to Exodus 32 and look at this example right here of something that Moses did. I can't recall that I've heard anybody else speak these words outside of Moses. But the book say Moses was the meekest man on earth, does it not? I know we can read that. Exodus 32, and let's pick it up at verse 30. Exodus 32, and let's start at verse 30. 32 and 30. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, ye have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin.
So Moses talking to the people after they made this golden calf and talking about worshiping the calf and having a feast to the calf and telling the calf, hey, you brought us out of Egypt, when they know they was wearing this jewelry that made that calf. Go ahead and read.
And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin and have made them gods of gold.
Go ahead.
Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not.
So now Moses tell Lord, if you cannot forgive Israel for what they did, go ahead.
Blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book, which thou hast written.
So Moses asked Lord to blot him out of the book of life for the sake of those people. One more verse, brother.
And the Lord said unto Moses, whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book.
So the Lord said, if you sin against him, that's the one that he's blotting out of the book. Okay, so now let's go into Revelations 20 and let's find out what actually happens if you're not found in that book. Because Moses offered up himself, if you will. He said, hey, take me. I'll go to the lake of fire for these people. Man, wow. Revelation 20, verse 11, brother. 20 and verse 11. Revelations chapter 20 and verse 11. Go ahead and read it.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God.
Yes.
And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works.
Go ahead.
And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works.
Yes.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
Yeah.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life.
So now it says whosoever it was that is not found written in that book of life, which is what Moses asked the Lord to take his name out of the book. And if you're not found in the book, go ahead and read.
Was cast into the lake of fire.
Do y'all see what kind of mindset Moses had right here? Do we see that? Brother Mike, me, you on one in there. Do y'all see what Moses was doing, brothers and sisters?
There we go.
So now, let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3. 2 Timothy 3. Sometimes it seems like me and Mike just in here practicing. What it seems like sometimes. 2 Timothy 3 and 10. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 10. Go ahead and read, brother.
But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long suffering, charity, and patience.
So now this is Paul writing, saying to Timothy, but you have fully known my doctrine and manner of life, purpose, faith, long suffering, he mentioned, charity and patience. Go ahead.
Persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Lord delivered me.
And we read earlier that when the righteous cry unto the Lord, he will hear them. And when they go through them troubles, he'll deliver them out of every one of them. We read that earlier, and then we see here Paul is confirming that. Go ahead and read.
Yeah, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution.
And if you're going to live godly, the persecution is coming your way. Skip down to verse 14 and continue.
But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them.
Go ahead.
And that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Christ Jesus.
So he's saying, continue in the things that you have learned, that we have learned, and being assured of them, okay? Because learning these scriptures and operating inside of them and being a prisoner of Christ, like we read in Ephesians 4, hey, you can get that salvation. But today's lesson was titled Long Suffering, a Godly Trait, to show you all that the Lord has been long suffering with us. And that's a characteristic that he wants us to have one to another with brotherly love and kindness, okay? I hope somebody was edified with today's lesson, and thank you for your time.